Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. We're on DTT because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. Coming up this morning, governing NPP issues strong warning, including immediate expulsion threat to those declaring support for independent presidential candidate Alan Tremantin. More as mixed reactions greet Mr. Tremantin's resignation from the NPP in the Ashanti region. Also this morning, floods wash away portions of a bridge located in Akweteman here in Accra, exposing commuters to danger as the remaining section of the road is riddled with deep cracks from the impact of the floods. Plus, a wheelchair didn't stop her from pursuing a life of helping others. In today's edition of Stories of Hope, we'll tell you the inspirational story of Lily. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Do stay for details. Many thanks for choosing us. Leadership of the New Patriotic Party has served notice to expel with immediate effect any individual who declares support for Alan Tremantin. The former NPP flag bearer aspirant officially resigned from the party to contest as an independent candidate for the 2024 elections. Already, party stalwart and former Ashanti Regional Minister S.K. Boafo has publicly announced his intention to throw his weight behind him. But the NPP national organizer Henry Nanabuachi says such acts will not be countenanced by the party. We'll hear from the NPP national organizer, but first listen to Alan Tremantin declaring his intention to resign.
After carefully analyzing the results of the Superdelegates Conference, I issued a press statement on the 6th of September this year, declaring my intention to exit the process leading to the presidential primaries. In the run-up to the Superdelegates Conference, the National Council of the party made some of the most controversial and contentious decisions in the history of our party. They rejected a petition signed by 9 out of the 10 aspirants requesting for the Superdelegates Conference to be held in one location, as well as to allow each delegate at the conference to nominate 5 persons instead of 1, in line with the provisions of our party's constitution. In my humble and considered opinion, the decisions of the National Council were both unmeritorious and unconstitutional. It is abundantly clear to me that my services and contributions to the party are not appreciated. And that my continuous stay in the party will create further tension and divisions, which is an exact replay of the circumstances that led to my decision to resign from the party in 2008. Under the circumstances, and given the context provided, I wish to use this platform to announce that I'm honorably resigning with immediate effect from the New Patriotic Party to contest. Thank you very much. To contest for the high office of the President of the Republic of Ghana in the 2024 general elections as an independent presidential candidate.
Mr. Shermanson said his decision to resign from the NPP to contest the 2024 elections as an independent candidate follows a hijack of the party by persons he describes as unscrupulous apparatchiks.
Fellow countrymen and women, I joined the New Patriotic Party at the very beginning of its establishment as a founding member, believing in its core values and the long-standing traditions of its antecedents, predicated on the principles of fairness, equity, probity, accountability, and transparency. I have devoted the best part of my professional career to serving the party, and I still believe in the vision of the founding fathers of the party. However, the NPP, as it exists now, has very little resemblance to the party that I joined in 1992 and helped to launch. Thank you. The party has been hijacked by a selected group of party leaders and elders, government appointees, behind the curtain power brokers and some unscrupulous party apparatchiks.
He therefore outlined the kind of political movement he intends to lead.
I've already put forward for the consideration of our country the Great Transformational Plan, GTP, which will significantly deal with poverty and bring prosperity to our nation. The GTP is anchored on 10 pillars, namely, 1, building a strong macroeconomic environment which will be characterized by a stable currency, low inflation, sustainable debt levels, revenue optimization, tight expenditure control, low competitive interest rates, strong external reserves backed by high levels of liquidity to support the financial sector. 2, introduce a new agricultural revolution for Ghana, which will first take advantage of both local, regional, and global markets. Secondly, be driven by technology, innovation, and cutting-edge research. Thirdly, optimize value for farmers through value chains. And fourthly, promote economies of scale in agriculture through large-scale commercial farming. 3, promoting industrial transformation through value addition and the establishment of strategic anchor industries to diversify the Ghanaian economy. This will also involve the establishment of industrial parks and special economic zones, as well as the aggressive promotion of small and medium-scale enterprises.
Meanwhile, in the Ashanti region, Mr. Shermanson's resignation has been greeted with mixed reactions from some staunch party supporters.
Because Ghana is a baby, Ghana na dunia hunu kreum. Yatoma party yatoma party bi yehu. Eti enya independent president a. Obetuma bua youth na ma yenya adwuma ya because magazine for your sofa pa. Ukuta sika kakra bi. Uri Korea business man ahye. Ka ona for social spare parts board enye na ma ne bua yeden. Obako portal koyi niema. First ukuta skaketwa bia 40 feet utimi and ukuta ba just 100,000. Old currency 1 billion adia koyi 40 feet container. Etuba oba 20 say. Tese baby adu no here businessman. Do betima bua o man no ama yen youth na o minu yanya adwuma yam pe lawyer yam pe professor ne wan wa bia bia. Omo say ala yate omo ntiase no omo kwahyepo yen magazine for the tanachi ye geneti pampe ye geneti asa baby obeko bia ye support no ye dey support ye dey sika ye dey ho ade ye bibia beta ala achi ama nkunim die so ne safa Alan 2024, Obama president, and Obama shake Ghana. Yapa job for the people, cast for the people.
And also say a paper. Okay, that is what Mammy who say. As where A am why, B am why. It's all me now, 1 year or so, by before. A bayan can say, crowd, yes, some cranium pope, be or no, you need to be a cranium for fun of do a man so because that are you would be a call. Baby, yes, make us and yes, will be any baby, or be a gun and ya, if you saw also a clever acrobat of a mine, and yes, any more any aqua, Yanisa. But the American question says, they say, oh, moment to so, oh, mammy, or we say, one hour by gun a year, over a gun a year, Nana. Was say, I be ready, Obano. I didn't say President Okasasa, Yankasasa, yes, Christo Cra Obano, Miu, and Munyam say, Hong Kong Crone Bedikiaba.
We're going to hear from the national organizer, Nana Boachi, who says the party will not hesitate to expel with immediate effect any individual who declares support for Alan Chermanting.
The decentralization position won. So it cannot be said that it was unmeritorious and then unconstitutional. And then you describe National Council in such unprintable, manner. I think that is most unfair.
Well, he's resigned now. He's gone.
Yeah,
what happens? Just a second.
We are going to.
Yeah. But what happens to other party members who join him, who express support for him? What happens to them?
I am of the firm opinion that overwhelming majority of them will still be part of the elephant family. I've mentioned quite a number of people, key personalities.
Yeah, you have. But SK Boafo, former Ashanti Regional Minister, today has declared that he will support Alan Chermanting. I'm curious to know, once you declare your support for Alan, do you cease to be a member of the NPP?
That is what the Constitution says.
In other words, as we speak tonight, SK Boafo ceases to be a member of the NPP.
That is what I have not heard it. I've not seen it. I've not heard it. You are saying it, but the Constitution is quite clear that if you're a party person and then if you go and support any other candidate apart from our presidential candidate, it means forfeiture of membership.
Well, over the period, we have seen a number of party stalwarts moving away from their parties to form their own contest or actually contest as independent candidates. The likes of Dr. Rekubrobe broke away from the NPP to form the United Ghana Movement. Guzi Tando of the NDC formed the Reformed Party. Nana Kunedu from the NDC formed NDP. Obeda Samwa, who formed the Democratic Freedom Party, and now Alan is out with the Movement for Change to contest the 2024 elections as an independent candidate. But how have these individuals, minus Alan, fared in their solo political agenda in the past? What has been the trend, and could that trend mean anything for Alan's agenda as well? Joining me in the studio for a background to this conversation is a member of our political desk, Raymond Akwa. Hi, Raymond.
Hello.
I've heard you talk about Alan moving away from the NPP, and you say, I mean, people shouldn't talk about whether he would, succeed as an independent candidate or not. But what he has done is actually to present a third force to Ghanaians. But let's look at the background to all of these. Let's start with Rekubrobe. He came out of the NPP to form the UGM.
Yes, Dr. Charles Rebu, in fact, he became very popular. He was a consultant to the PNDC on energy matters. Then he became very popular when he formed the Independent Media Corporation, which set up Radio I in 1994. At the time, there were not many independent radio stations across the country, and played an inspiring role in that grouping, the Alliance for Change. And you remember Alliance for Change, that's the Kumipreko demonstrators, the leaders of it, a political pressure group, which obviously you know about. They opposed VAT anyway. So he formed the United Ghana Movement in 1996 after he resigned from the NPP and contested the 2000 elections. He got a little over 23,000 votes, which represents just 0.3% of that year's election. That 2000 year, yes, and that John Kufuor actually won. So that's the brief presidential ambition of Dr. Charles Reku-Brobe.
Yeah.
As of the time, there were lots of talks about whether or not he was spearheading a certain breakaway in a way that would reconnect. He is directly related to Victor Osu, and that this is a Victor Osu incarnate who certainly should be an MPP person moving on to actually form his party. But he thought the new movement was the best way to go when it comes to a new path for Ghana in a way.
Obeda Samoa also, I mean, he's a very key figure. He was a key figure in the NDC. He also broke away to form his own party.
Yes, but in that same election of 2000, one other key person you should note is Gusitano, who had left the NDC first to form the National Reform Party.
Definitely so.
He got 78,000 votes, had 1.1% of that election.
That was at least an improvement.
Yes, up to 1% actually. So you talk about Dr. Obeda Samoa. Now in 2002, he replaced former President Rawlings as head of the NDC and moved on. I mean, in that election, he beat Alhaji Mahama Idrisu by just 2 votes. Now, in 2006, he lost his chairmanship position in the party. And you know what happened in 2006? There were a lot of complaints about how they were being treated and all of that.
Yeah.
Then, not long after the defeat, he resigned from the NDC. Dr. Samoa was accused by his party members, accused his party members and other political parties of stealing a huge sum of money from the coffers of the NDC, which he had reported from, his own bedroom. Remember that particular incident anyway. And let's move on to it. On August 28, 2006, he and other politicians, Big Zidane and Co., moved out and formed and launched what is supposed to be the Democratic Freedom Party. He became a live patron. The presumption was that he was going to contest presidency, but he didn't do so. He became the live patron, and they chose a candidate called Emmanuel Ansentwi, who contested the 2008 elections. In that election, Emmanuel Ansentwi had 27,889 votes, representing just 0.33% of that particular presidential election results.
And you see one thing that ran through all these people, they say that they've not been treated well by their parties. Look at Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings, who came out of the NDC to form the NDP. And even though her husband was still the founder of the party, interesting phenomenon.
Yes, and the understanding that you remember the Fonka Games, right?
Definitely.
That was a seminal point in that time. And at the time, I think political parties in Ghana have had a theory that if we lean towards a certain candidate or a certain direction, it's majority of the vote for that person or for that candidate, and the rest can actually be. And internal party elections sometimes are not so democratic, even though our law says that it should be conducted in a democratic manner. So the understanding is that they would have followed some of these tenets. Of course, she had a long list of complaints, talking about how when she was there, many of these people were not there. Talking about how her, 31st December Women's Days were very important, and the things she did with former President Rawlings, which was key to the party's future. At that time, the fear was that this is a woman that is very much close to or married to the founder of the party. So if she's able to pull the founder away into a new reform party, the NDC would disintegrate and be, because Rawlings was NDC. Rawlings is live patron and also founder of the party. Remember, that had to be changed along the line so that founding members could be, because the laws of the country rarely allowed a list of people to be founders, not an individual. But the NDC kept it as a rule for their leader at the time. The thinking deeply was that she would make a lot of incursions. The results did not support that particular theory. Of course, she won just 0.16% of the vote cast in 2016. A very abysmal performance compared to the stature, theory, and thinking about how she was going to do in the election. And the fears about how the NDC was going to be decimated, mindful of her role and the people. There were even thoughts that she would take away all the cadres from the party, people who were adherents of Rawlings right from the revolutionary days.
And I reserve Pakwesi Indom for the last, because I think the closest we've come has been with Pakwesi Indom, with the PPP. And even that, the first time they didn't work, but the second time in the last 2 elections, I mean, he made some inroads, and people thought that that was the third force, but that was not to be.
Now, in December 2007, Indum was nominated CPP flag bearer to contest the 2008 presidential elections. He lost the elections. He got less than 1% of the vote anyway. Then they joined the CPP's party election of 2011. I mean, there were others who reportedly supported Mr. Indum, including then chairman Ladi Nylander, but he lost to Samia Nkrumah.
Yep.
Then that was important because having to choose between a man who was perhaps your brightest star and the foundation of this country is built on Nkrumah's vision. And Nkrumah's daughter was a bit difficult for a political party. So Samia versus Indum led to Samia leading up and Ghana's daughter of Ghana's first president coming in there. Now, months later, Indum, accused his party of going against their own regulations. Then in January 2012, he resigned and formed the Progressive People's Party. You know, that time the theory was pre-Papa Preko. Yes. Because
I remember.
To Indum, it wouldn't work if you are using those existing party structures, corrupted, not strong enough, decimated by people's greed and interest and avarice, and all of the things that's negative in our politics. So they need to move it forward into a terrain where a candidate can stand firm and even moved ideologically to the middle. From being complete socialist and Nkrumah is into them, he moved to the middle of saying that he's not a pragmatist. The theories of building a better Ghana requires that we put everything together in a big bowl and do what was required at the time to build a better state. But Indum's chances have not been very bright beyond that, of course.
But he at least he what was his what did he get? I mean, in terms of votes in his last elections, I think he did better.
No, of course, when you compare him to the other candidates who had seen, he had more than 1% first. Yes, but the stature of Papa Kwesi Indum, he had worked with Kufuor's government, he had law, and one of the things they said about independent or people who had left their political parties and gone because they didn't have the resources to move forward. But he appeared to have a certain group in Indum. He appeared to have built not just for himself, but across the country.
And also worked as a public sector reforms minister.
Yes, enough of the resources that could garner that. So compared to what many say will be the stature, resources, and the competence of the person, his performance over the period was quite shocking. It cemented a certain thinking that Ghanaians largely, generally, did not move away from what they call it, the duopoly. You know, in 2 elections, where third candidates or third parties had made major incursion, 2000 and 2008, he was in one, the 2008 one, but on the ticket of the CPP. But beyond that, his influence had not pushed the election into a runoff. It had not actually impacted the way many would have thought that would have been the
It's quite interesting when people say Ghanaians are actually, they recognize themselves with this duopoly, and you ask yourself, why is this? Probably because they have all it takes. They have all the structures, and I mean, these individuals may lack some of these things. That's where I bring in a political risk analyst, Dr. Theo Champong. He'll be helping us get some answers. Grateful for your time, Doc. First, why haven't these individuals succeeded over the period, even though there's a strong sense that Ghanaians need a third force?
Good morning, and it's good to see everyone. You're very right, and both you and Raymond, in terms of diagnosing the issues and the trends and all of that. Basically, a third force in Ghana is always very challenging. And beyond the statistics, the first point is that you have 2 main parties, the NPP and NDC, that have pretty much like deeply entrenched structures across the length and breadth of the country. And over the last, couple of decades that we've been practicing this Fourth Republican politics, have largely controlled in excess of 98%, of the votes cast. Number 2, that a number of these third parties often start with the base of trying to appeal to the middle class. But the middle class voters are not enough, although they are important, not enough to win the poll. So unless the idea is to push the election into a second round, and in that case, the third party becomes like a kingmaker, it's practically impossible for a third party to win an election in Ghana. However disenchanted we've become with, the economy and cost of living and corruption and all of that. The third factor also is the issue of, trust, or call it credibility. So sometimes these third parties and individuals actually break away from an existing party. And there's this sort of perception also, really, that you either left it too late in terms of leaving the party, and certainly there's some of that sentiment in the case of Alan Kyerematen, or you should have stayed and reformed the party from within. And then beyond that, there's the question of what do these individuals actually bring to the table in terms of their public life, what they've done, ideas, policies, and you name it. And you see that often the ideas, policies are not lacking, but the other factors that I've highlighted, which tends to, hold much more sway.
What then is the strategy for such individuals or those seeking to run independent to be successful in the midst of this duopoly?
So then we have to define success. Is it success to actually win the election, or success in terms of trying to force a second round, and in that case, have some sort of government of national unity, which is what Alan seems to be indicating in his statement that he made yesterday. I think that for any third party to make breakthrough in the current dispensation, they could probably do only with about 3 to 5% of the poll. That in and of itself is significant, and it could send the election next year into a second round. It is almost going to be impossible for a third party, in the way we currently practice our politics, to actually win a substantive election, first time round. It's got to be a long-term political project. So possibly looking at 2032 or even 2028 thereabout. But it needs to start from now. It needs to start with the mobilization. It needs to start with the messaging, and it needs to actually reach out beyond just the middle-class voters in Accra or Kumasi.
Whichever you look at it, of course, whichever way you want to see this, Alan's resignation and participation as an independent candidate does not erase the fact that he will give the NPP and NDC some sort of a headache in the upcoming elections in 2024. Should they be worried, these two major political parties?
Yes, both of them, I'm sure, now are running around doing their calculations and looking at what is possible. Because at the end of the day, you're going to go into a very, very keenly contested election next year. And in Alan's statement, it talks about forming or pushing for some sort of government of national unity in that regard. So whether the NPP wins or the NDC wins, should the election then go into a second round, then literally Alan is sort of pitching himself as the kingmaker in that regard, where he will be able to side with either of the two parties to try and get them, to form this government of national unity. So for both parties, clearly they'll be worried. But I also think that actually could be beneficial for Ghana in the long run, because we've been talking about the duopoly, MPP, NDC, and the excessive partisanship that has, almost corrupted the political fabric of this country. So to the extent that another party comes in and is able to pitch for some appointments and things like that, that broadly represents, the collective national aspirations of Ghanaians and not just some select few political class, that could actually usher in my view, a new form of democratic dispensation going forward.
Dr. Theo Champo, I'm grateful for your time. He's a political risk analyst, and what I take from his submission, he says it could be a lose or a loss for both political parties, the major political parties, but could be a win for Ghanaians. But let's look at this scenario, Raymond. And unlike what happened in Parliament, where the second deputy speaker broke away, stood as an independent party, independent candidate, and then when it became difficult, he decided to align himself with the NPP. Do you see, listening to Dr. Chie Champong, that, what Alan can do actually is to push the elections into a second run or into a runoff? And if that happens, do you see Alan aligning with any of these parties, especially listening to how bitter he looked yesterday when he was resigning?
Mr. Chairman, he talked about his role in the NPP and that he still believed in the vision of the founding fathers of the party. And I am thinking of how he would posture himself going into the future. So if he aligns with any of the political parties next, he would have lost that role that he's pictured himself to be, a different candidate, a candidate who's not marred by the current political space that we find ourselves, a candidate who is not bought into monocracy, a candidate who is not into politics that's hijacked by a few. If he goes into that form of arrangement, he jeopardizes that kind of belief he wants the young people who are the majority of the voters going to the next election to have in him. So it will be in his interest to position himself as somebody who is independent of the captured political space that the NPP and the NDC have represented for some time now, and the structures that they put into the election. He would have a tough choice to do. But the reality really cannot be that he can just go into an election saying, I'm not part of that rot that's currently happening. Mm-hmm. And yet later on throw his weight behind the same rot he's talking about. Yeah. That is what's going to be possible.
Okay.
As to whether or not the change is what is required, if tomorrow he perceives the NDC as the option, then the questions will be, were your ideas always in sync with that of the NDC? Mm-hmm. Is it an uneasy bedfellow kind of relationship that you're having with them in the immediate? I think he will stand still and be independent of them. I think he's starting something in a more meaningful way. Now, if he's able to get the likes of Papa Kwesi Nkrumah and Nanko, those who have equally ventured in a similar direction, including the likes of Sam Ankara and Co, who believe that an independent candidate should be the way forward. Mm-hmm. A bigger, broader base may be built. Mm-hmm. Perhaps not for this election. Yep. And like Peter Obi showed in the Nigerian election, mm-hmm. regardless of the time frame you have to go into the election, yep. if people believe that you are giving them something refreshing after an abysmal performance and after a situation which seems hopeless, you may ride on that. But going into the future, it's the systems you build. It is the posturing, the integrity you maintain. Not one that is sold on a silver platter merely because you go and engage a political party that's winning and say, okay, I'll support you to win the election. Then you give me something in the making.
Except that Peter Obi's situation is quite different. Peter Obi performed very well as a governor, and you know that whilst he was leaving, he left even a budget that he did not actually exhaust. He left a balance in the coffers of government.
Tips.
Okay.
In fact, if Peter Obi did so well, I'm sure the party would have made him even what they call it, the candidate in the first place.
Okay.
And I'm convinced that it is an electioneering process. It is how you do the communication. It's up to Chairman Till and Co to actually now tell us the wonderful things he's done as an individual in government and the very things that has promoted the good of this country. Yeah. So you got to know of those things from Peter. Of course, you didn't hear about the bad ones. Because it was what was positioned out there properly. It is now left to him to respond to the critics, to respond to the main issues against him, and to be positioned properly for the future. Let's not get it wrong. This is Ghana. We have positioned candidates as saviors to our economy. Yep. We have positioned candidates as the most distinguished of our fellows. In fact, we have told people that when others were buying land, Some candidates did not even touch those lands. They have lived in their father's house and have been so like that for a very long time. We have position candidates have been competent, and it got to the people. And the people actually felt that they were incompetent. So as for political standing, it depends on the communication and what you are likely to tell the people. And if you back it with some proven integrity, it works better for you. So I'm not going to say, oh no, there's a track record that is on this side, so there's none to be found here. If they compare the CVs going into the election, it will be left with the electorate to make a decision based on who they have seen do what. And again, I'm saying it is up to the people who will be in his team to tell the people of this republic what he brings on board, which is different from the other groups.
Well, this is a conversation that has just begun. In fact, this conversation will live on till the end of the 2024 election. So we've just begun the discourse here. Thank you so much, Raymond Akwa. He's with our political desk with that historic background. And we move on to other stories. Recent flooding in the capital city has rendered some community roads inaccessible and dangerous for commuters. In Akweteman, for instance, a major bridge has been almost washed away, leaving deep cracks in the remaining section of the road currently being used by residents. The situation, if not checked immediately, could cause more havoc to residents. JoyNews' Fred Kwesia Dai Kwating visited some areas, including Akweteman, this morning. He joins us live. Fred, what did you observe in Akweteman this morning? Right. Fred is trying to position himself well, I guess. Hello, Fred, if you can hear me, what did you find in Akweteman this morning when you visited?
Okay, Aisha, thank you. So we've been touring some parts in Accra where there are issues of flood after Friday's downpour. So we started the tour at Akweteman, and we are currently at Glefe. But when we go to Akweteman, specifically the principal church area, we realized that a bridge which is linking the two communities have been ripped off by the heavy downpours last Friday. So according to the residents around, the road became unmotorable due to the rains and how it has destroyed the bridge. It took the intervention of some people around to help fix parts of the road so that cars can move around. According to some residents that we spoke to, they told us that a young boy is still missing due to the heavy downpour, and so there's a search party still ongoing to find the missing boy due to the rain. Now from Akweteman, we moved to Glefe, where there is also a flooding situation here. So we toured some homes where it became apparent that people cannot access their homes, and some people use slabs, they use some wood so that they can walk on them before they can access their rooms. Some also complaining that most of their items have been destroyed by the rain, so they are calling on government to come and intercede on their behalf, to come and help them so that they can be able to deal with the situation totally. So these are some of the issues that we've been facing with. We even spoke to the Queen Mother of the area, and she's also calling on government intervention because the situation is very serious. When it rains, people cannot move around, people cannot access some portions of the community. So the assemblyman has a water pumping machine where they use to be able to pump out water before they can move around. But because the water pumping machine is one, it becomes very difficult for all the community to access it. So that's the situation currently at Glefe and Akweteman. We are moving on to different areas where we will report on what is happening so far. So if there's anything that you would like to know.
Fred, has there been any effort to fix this? Did you find out from authorities?
Okay, so we asked about this, and they are saying that the only person who has been of great help to them is the assembly member, so who goes around with the water pumping machine to help them pump out the water that has filled their homes. But apart from that, there hasn't been any governmental intervention to help fix the situation. That is the situation I'm talking about. So it's only the assembly member who the residents claim have been of great concern to the situation. But apart from that, they are calling for drainage systems, which they are saying the government is not helping in that area. So that has been the help so far, according to the residents that I spoke to.
Fred Adekwating is our man on the ground, and we'll definitely bring you some videos also from Glefe. But we've also been joined by the Queen Mother of Glefe, Na Tete Oko. Good morning, Na. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
What was the flooding situation in your area?
Oh, by this moment, we haven't got any big challenge at Glefe, because in the former days we don't have sea defense. So when the rain falls, we are in big trouble. But now the government has solved it for us. So just little where the water will pass is our own doing.
Okay, so as we speak, you are not faced with any challenge in terms of flood and all of that?
No.
That's great.
All these are man-made. We ourselves, because where water used to pass, we are built on that.
That's good to know, and That's positive news coming in to know that government has actually resolved your issue, because we know Glefe to be one of the areas that is flood prone. But you say the rest is something that is created by your own people. What are you doing as the Queen Mother to ensure that they do the right things so that you don't see some of these things you're talking about?
There are so many tribes here. Talking to them, they won't listen. When you are going to realize, you find that where that the water used to pass, somebody has built on it. And the Abesma West MCE has intervened, but nothing good comes out from them.
But you're the Queen Mother. Can't you punish people who engage?
Queen Mother can't punish people. He have their own money to do something. So you can't punish him.
So what do you intend to do to get them to do the right thing?
You have to talk to them, educate them.
Right. Na Tete Oko the first. Thank you so much. She's the Queen Mother of Glefe, and she's been sharing the situation. She says that the flood situation has been resolved, thankfully, but it's left with citizens to do the right thing to ensure they don't have flooding situations when it rains. Let's take a break on JoyNews Desk. When we'll return, we'll bring you business.
I came home earlier than I normally would that fateful Monday after work. And to my surprise, I saw my husband and my mother having sex in our living room.
I had always suspected my wife. I felt she had something doing with my little brother. And I walked into a room one day, and there they were, making out. And this is my blood brother.
My husband, who is a banker, will not have sex with me because I denied him my earnings. Is he gay? I've been wondering.
What is your story? What secret is eating you up? Why are you having continual sleepless nights? Do you need help? Share your story on our powerful new series where real people share their deepest secrets on Prime Morning beginning this September. Drop your stories on our WhatsApp number 055 157 5757. Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved. and every problem has a solution.
Owning a home is an accomplishment. When it comes to choosing our preference of living, we are faced with a dilemma. Will you go for affordability, comfort, or luxury?
Well, we will help you choose your preferred home at a very affordable and convenient way at the 2023 edition of the Republic Bank Lovatham Habitat Fair, slated for Friday, 6 October to Sunday, 8th October 2023 at the Kumasi City Mall, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. each day.
This event is brought to you by your superstation, Love 99.5 FM, in partnership with Republic Bank.
Powered by Airport City HDG Homes and sponsored by DBS Industries Limited, Syntex Tank, the ultimate protection plus insurance product from Star Life Assurance, supported by
Hello, good morning. Welcome to the business segment on JoyNews Desk with me, Pius Kojubaka. Star Assurance Limited has unveiled the Star Motor Third-Party Extra, an innovative product that revolutionizes third-party motor insurance in Ghana. Well, this is new offering allowing third-party policyholders to enjoy some limited coverage for damage to their own vehicles. Head of Product Development and Innovation, Michael Adumakun at Star Assurance, said the third-party motor insurance only covers liability for damage and injuries caused by policyholders while driving, leaving the policyholder's own vehicle unprotected in the case of accidents. He spoke to Joy Business at the unveiling of the product.
Motor insurance is the most widely sought after type of insurance in Ghana, with a majority of policyholders opting for third-party coverage. The Star Motor Third Party Extra signals an important development within the motor insurance industry, which for 66 years has been mainly offering comprehensive third-party policies and third-party fire and theft policy. According to Mr. Adomakun, customers can acquire this new products through Star Assurance's 20 branch locations, as well as through the company's extensive network of agents and brokers nationwide.
The Star Motor Third Party Extra covers third party as well as glass damage to the insured's own vehicle. And this is evolutionary in the industry. This is the first time we are seeing such in the industry, that now clients are able to pay something as little as 100 Ghana cedis and still enjoy a cover for their own vehicle. Now we at Star, we are covering glass damage to the client's own vehicle, be it the windscreen, both the front and the back windscreen, the side mirrors, the window glasses, the front glasses, the inside rear view mirror, and even the sunroof. And this is the first time in the industry we are seeing an insurance company come out with such a product.
Speaking at the launch of the Star Motor Third Party Extra, Chief Executive Officer of Star Assurance, Boatima Bafoyewa, stated that the introduction of the Motor Third Party Extra aligns seamlessly with the organizational mission and vision, which is centered on creating exceptional experiences for their customers.
Let us embrace this new chapter of the car protection together. Once again, I want to especially thank my team, executive management, and my technical team, because as they all know, I'm always driving everybody crazy with my ideas. But thank you for indulging me and making things happen. It's exciting working with you. Also, to our partners, thank you for always standing by us and also being part of this incredible journey. To our invited guests, thank you for braving the odds and being here with us. We assure you that this product will definitely be worth it for you.
The convenience of purchasing Vest product extends to digital platforms like Prokia, Star Assurance's virtual assistant, and external providers such as Corey and Total Ghana filling stations across the country.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Wow!
The Association of International Certified Professional Accountants and the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants have awarded 67 Ghanaian accounting and finance professionals with the Chartered Global Management Accountant designation. At the convocation ceremony, guest speaker and Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD, Ray Ankra, entreated the new members to pursue value addition to grow the businesses in which they find themselves. He was speaking at the CIMA Ghana convocation and member recognition.
The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants works closely with employers and sponsors leading-edge research, constantly updating its professional qualification and professional experience requirements to ensure it remains the employer's choice when recruiting financially trained business leaders. At this year's convocation, Deputy Chief Executive of COCOBOD, Ray Ankra, urged the new members to continuously develop their skills to add value to their organizations.
You have advances in digital technology. You cannot ignore it. You have to embrace technology. You must be an expert. So you must embrace technology. You really have to embrace, because technology is meant to be an enabler to help you to do things quicker, faster, and cheaper. There are higher expectations. People will be expecting more from you. So your technical and ethical skills, ethics, make sure you hold on to what is right and wrong. Absolutely important. You also need some soft skills, creativity. You know, there's something called emotional intelligence. You walk into a room and you just know when to keep quiet and when to talk. That is so important.
Country Director of Ghana, Benin, and Cameroon at AICPA and CIMA, Paul Aninakwa, also urged the new members to acquire relevant skills that would help their businesses to navigate turbulent economic times.
In the world of business as unusual, the role of the accounting and finance profession has never been more important. We play a key role in helping our organizations navigate turbulent times and provide them with the guidance and value they need to get and stay ahead. Our role is constantly evolving, expanding in scope, requiring new skills and competencies, and demanding greater collaboration with colleagues across the business. Your CGMA designation shows employers, clients, regulators across the world your understanding of business and your commercial acumen.
The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, is the world's leading and largest professional body of management accountants.
And that's all for business for now. I am Pius Kujubaka. The news continues.
I came home earlier than I normally would that fateful Monday after work. And to my surprise, I saw my husband and my mother having sex in our living room.
I had always suspected my wife. I felt she had something doing with my little brother. And I walked into a room one day, and there they were, making out. And this is my blood brother.
My husband, who is a banker, will not have sex with me because I denied him my earnings. Is he gay? I've been wondering.
What is your story? What secret is eating you up? Why are you having continual sleepless nights? Do you need help? Share your story on our powerful new series where real people share their deepest secrets on Prime Morning beginning this September. Drop your stories on our WhatsApp number 055 157 5757. Remember, a problem shared is a problem half solved, and every problem has a solution.